A very good afternoon. There is a saying that I love. When you drop a stone into water, you never know how far the ripples will reach. And healing works the same way. One act of healing never always stays in one place. It spreads from person to person, from one patient to a family, or from one nurse to an entire community. That is the ripple effect of healing. But most oftentimes, we believe that healing begins in the hospital with a stethoscope, a prescription, or a reassuring touch. But I believe that healing begins here, in lecture halls, classrooms. It begins with how we prepare the people who will one day go on to hold the lives of others in their hands. If we choose to heal education, we heal the people who go on to heal others. But right now, in Malaysia, we are facing a critical shortage of nurses. So much so that by 2030, we will be lacking 60% of our nurses, leading to a possible collapse in healthcare. So, to combat this issue, policymakers have now reduced credit requirements from 5 credits to now just 3 credits. You can now own a nursing diploma. But here's the thing. The problem isn't just about numbers. The problem is that even if more nursing students were to come into nursing school, many of them will struggle to make it through. It's not because they lacked passion, it's not because they don't care, but because the way that we learn has not kept up with the kind of world that we live in. As students, we are handed hundreds of notes, a library of resources, and given the decision to sink or swim. And I know that because I've been there. Move back in time, late night, 3 in the morning. I know I have OSCEs coming up, research paper submission, assignment submissions, and I'm still downloading slides from eLearn because there's just that many. And at that moment, I have notes scattered everywhere, eyes fixed on the screen, and I'm figuring out, how am I going to do this? I'm not thinking about saving lives. I'm just trying to figure out if I was truly cut out for this profession. And I wasn't alone. I had best friends, close friends who suffered silently. And I've had a best friend walk away from nursing altogether. But let's take a step back and try to understand, why has learning got to be so overwhelming in the first place? Psychologists call it the term cognitive load. Cognitive load is our memory, the way that we process information. At a single point of time, our brain can hold 7 pieces of information. Now compare that to a typical healthcare lecture slide. You would have 40 different bullet points, and that could run to 100 different pages. At that point of time, you are overloading the mind. Learning doesn't deepen, it fractures. What could have become insight is now lost in overflow. So that brings me to the big truth. The world has changed, but education hasn't. Some of you may argue with me to say, we have smartboards, iPads, some really cool modern tools, and I agree. But if you take a closer look, these are actually just digital windows to an analog classroom. They are still relying on a one-size-fits-all methodology and forcing students down a tunnel of passive content. And that brings me to another big truth. Our attention spans are declining. If you think 10 years ago, think back. 10 years ago, you can sit through a 30-minute long YouTube video, and it would feel like it's just nice. But right now, we scroll away on TikTok because a 10-second video is boring. We keep scrolling. And that is the changes that has happened. So, in this modern era, artificial intelligence can drive cars. Algorithms predict what we'll buy, what movies we'll watch, and even who we might date. Cookies, the one you clicked on accept on without thinking twice, they take a look at what you're doing once, and seconds later, boom, an ad appears. And you may think this is magic. But walk into the classroom, and it looks almost the same as it did. If algorithms can adapt to sell us things, why can't they adapt to teach us things? If AI can determine the next movie to binge, why can't it determine the next practice question based on your weaknesses? If cookies can follow you relentlessly for weeks based on a pair of shoes that you saw 2 weeks ago, why can't it be just as relentless to helping a student that's falling behind? That is where innovation comes in. That is where we can help students because, for example, Metaverse. This is the platform that I am coming up with. An all-in-one AI-powered platform. This platform is designed to reimagine healthcare education. It adapts to you like an AI study bot 24/7. It understands your weaknesses, your strengths, and it truly knows you like nobody else. And so, to the world, this may seem like a platform, but to me, this is a beginning of a ripple. Because one student supported becomes one nurse confident, and one nurse confident becomes hundreds of patients cared for, and hundreds of patients cared for becomes communities healed. And it all started in a place that we didn't often think of, the classroom. So, before I leave today, I leave you all with one question to think about. If every one of you here had a stone, what ripple will you create? Thank you.